Watch. CNN commentator Masterfully does in Chris Van Hollen and Dems over Abrego Garcia. I still don't understand. This is the hill that Democrats want to die on. They want to defend a human trafficker, a domestic violence a person, a gang member, all of this stuff this guy has done. He's not a great individual. This is the guy that Democrats decided to defend. This is what they and then they try to play it off and be like, well, he's getting his due process. You know, that's what it was really all about. No, that's not what it was about. It was about just being anti-Trump. It's about not putting American citizens, American taxpayers first. That's what this whole thing's been about. This is why the Democrat Party is so unpopular, and people have a disdain for people with a D next to their name now because of this stuff that they're pulling here. They're treating criminals better than they treat American citizens. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to play the clip and see what Jennings has to say about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I'll talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Red State, and they report that, as we reported, the guy Democrats have spent so much time over, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, has been returned to the U.S., but he wasn't brought back because of them. He's here to face new charges regarding conspiracy to transport illegal aliens, including members of MS-13, according to the indictment against him. Despite that, Senator Chris Van Hollen was still trying to take a victory lap on CNN with Anderson Cooper and pretending like Democrats hadn't embraced the man. He even said that President Donald Trump should apologize to Abrego Garcia, proving that Democrats just keep wanting to go over that illegal alien cliff. That's what I was saying. This is really what you want to. This is what you're really willing to die for. I mean, this is crazy to me. Poor CNN commentator Scott Jennings had to deal with the wild takes from the liberals on a CNN panel as a result, as our they said as Town Hall reported. First was the take that being in the country illegally isn't a crime, according to panelist Bakari Sellers. You crazy? It is a crime. It is literally. These people are ridiculous. Oh my gosh! Now they're saying that crimes aren't crimes. Here we go.
We know plenty about this person.
What?
We know that he lived in the country illegally for 14 years. I know it's okay with you.
I said that.
That's not. We know.
Time out. No.
We know.
That's not. That is not okay with me. But that's not. But that's not. But that is literally.
First of all, we all know that you both interrupt each other.
No, that is not a crime.
To live in the country illegally?
That's not a crime. That's a status offense. Stop telling people stuff that's not true.
I am just. My mind is so blown here.
Go ahead and finish.
By the last 2 nights.
Scott.
Sorry,
that's not a criminal offense.
Bakari, just give. Can we give?
It's a civil violation.
Bakari, can we give Scott?
So
we know plenty about this person.
I have to rewind.
We know that he lived in the country illegally for 14 years.
Because I have to hear this idiocracy that comes out of this guy's mouth. Here we go. Sorry about this, y'all.
We know plenty about this person.
What?
We know that he lived in the country illegally for 14 years. I know it's okay with you.
I said that.
That's not.
We know. Time out. No.
We know.
That's not. That is not okay with me. But that's not. But that's not a. But that is literally.
First of all, we all know that you both interrupt each other all the time.
That is not a crime.
To live in the country illegally?
That's not a crime. That's a status offense. Stop telling people stuff that's.
So what do you mean a status offense? That is a crime. Coming into this country illegally is a crime. What is he talking? These people are delusional.
Okay.
Not true.
I am just. My mind is so blown here.
Go ahead and finish.
By the last 2 nights.
Scott,
it's not a criminal offense.
Bakari, just give. Can we give?
It's a civil violation.
Bakari, can we give Scott?
So
yes,
he's in the country illegally 14 years. That's number one. We also know what his wife told the courts and law enforcement about him. that he was violent, that he beat her.
But he's not being charged with that.
That he was.
Hearsay.
That he was. So you said, we don't know if he's a bad guy.
We don't.
I trust his wife when she runs off and says, please protect me from this man.
What if his wife said, this man's great? You wouldn't trust her? That's insane.
You're acting like we don't know things. We
Prosecute
do know
him.
things. We
Prosecute
know.
him.
And so,
Prosecute
at
him.
a minimum, what we know should be more than enough for anybody at this table to say, yes, please
Scott,
get him the hell out.
Let me ask you this. Do you prosecute him?
They are ridiculous. They refuse to admit that they're wrong. Yes, it is a crime if you enter the country illegally. Under 8 U.S.C. Section 1325. And yes, while unlawful presence, such as overstaying a visa, is a civil offense, it can still get you deported. I'm not sure what the Democrats think they're arguing here. This was a problem that Rep. Jasmine Crockett seems to have as well. She went even further, claiming illegal entry is not a crime. Abrego Garcia has not been charged regarding any actions alleged by his wife, but she did file for 2 protective orders, as we reported. But notice how the liberals seem to want to ignore the history and the import of the new charges. Jennings masterfully did in Senator Von Hollen over his embrace of St. Gilmar, Abrego Garcia. Let's play this clip. Here we go.
You know, I suspect that Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, when he heard that St. Abrego Garcia was coming back, took a shower, put on his nice suit, got on Open Table, found out what maybe party of 2 reservation they could get for tonight so they could continue the bromance they started when he went back to visit St. Abrego in El Salvador. Look, he was not deported because he was a bad guy. He was deported because he was an illegal immigrant living in the country illegally for 14 years, who had gone through due process, who had an existing deportation order. It so happens that it turns out he may in fact well be a really, really bad person that we would not want in the country. Here are his possible outcomes. Number 1, he gets convicted of this stuff and goes to prison for a long time. Number 2, he gets acquitted and goes back to El Salvador, which is what I suspect the White House would do with him if he somehow gets out of these charges. Either way, it's what the White House said all along. There's no future where this the Maryland man goes back to Maryland to live quietly in the suburbs.
That's not the point.
Facts. They are ridiculous. Then Jennings listed what he thinks the possible outcome will be, which, we just played a clip. Later on, Jennings humorously said on X about what he had to deal with on CNN. He said, quote, "I'm like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. Someday I'll find a way out of this conversation about St. Abrego Garcia. Today isn't it." Because, right, they're still caping for this dude. I don't get it. I don't understand. This is the cause you really want to fight. You want to fight for, to have a guy who's a domestic abuser. He had a protective order. His wife had a protective order on him. He's not a good person. He was he got MS-13 tattoos to prove that he's a MS-13 gang member. He was human trafficking. They got the video of him in the vehicle with like 8 other illegals that he was transporting to Maryland. Like, what more? Why would you want to fight for this dude? I don't get it. I don't understand. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.